YouTube, what is going on? This is your boy Jordan JC back again on the Chicago Bears Breeze, and we got another good one for you today. The topic is going to be, can Myles Garrett become a Chicago Bear by the trade deadline? Obviously, there has been some names rumored to be out there because either for one or two reasons, their team is not doing so well, and so the team is looking to rebuild, or they're just available for trade because another team wants to pick them up because of their special talent. Well, obviously, Myles Garrett is in the middle of those talks for the Chicago Bears. Could there be a potential trade on the horizon for the Bears to actually take advantage of? Well, there's an article that really has me intrigued as to how that can happen. We're about to get right into it. There is a trade that has been reported or explored, and Diana Russini and Jacob Robinson from The Athletic actually have created a trade that had me going, oh, okay, that's actually not a bad idea. Now, obviously, with the talent like Myles Garrett, probably the best or one of the best pass rushers in the entire league, an athletic freak from head to toe, as I've mentioned before. I mean, a natural game changer, a game wrecker who has had a track record of being a fearsome edge rusher on the Cleveland Browns. I'm pretty sure that he would feel that it's okay to get traded from that team right now, especially with all of the things that are going on, with all the issues, Deshaun Watson going down, the team not necessarily being in a position to be in the postseason as of right now. The team is kind of on the downtrend. And so who's to say that, hey, their GM, their owner is looking to just try and rebuild, try and get this thing going and just restart this whole thing with Cleveland Browns, and Myles Garrett can be available. Well, here's the trade offer that Diana Russini and Jacob Robinson said. And like I said, it has my full attention. It says, let's say the Bears acquire Myles Garrett, sending the Browns 2 first-round picks, obviously 2025 and 2026, and rookie defensive end Austin Booker. Chicago has long needed help on its defensive line, missing on defensive end Matthew Judon this offseason, though in hindsight, last year's trade for defensive end Montez Sweat was a savvy move by GM Ryan Poles. And so when I looked over that trade, and of course you should know already that there's going to be a lot that you have to give up. In order to get something of this special of a talent, you have to give up something that's special as well. And draft capital is at a premium. So the next year's first round pick and then 2026, I expected that would probably be on the table before I even looked at this trade offer. And that makes a lot of sense. Now, defensive end Austin Booker, throw him in there to kind of sweeten that deal. I could see that happening. And of course, we know that Austin Booker, I love Austin Booker. I feel like he has the potential to really be a game wrecker himself. You see some really good qualities and traits already as far as his pressure. Hasn't necessarily gotten to the quarterback just yet. But, I mean, if you're talking about somebody that you can see is going to continue to build on his craft, it has length, has aggression, has pass rush moves, can bull run his opponent, the offensive tackle. Like, there's things that you already see in Austin Booker that are going to be very, very good traits if he puts it all together year after year, developing in the offseason, right? And so I think that kind of trade offer, adding a potential player like him that can replace, and you're talking about giving that back to Cleveland to kind of jumpstart their rebuild and building around a player like him on the defensive line, while also adding some first-round talent as well for the next couple of years. I think that Cleveland might jump at that idea. That actually wouldn't be a bad offer. And then, of course, getting back Myles Garrett. You're talking about a Bears defense that is already elite. I feel like is either the first or the second best defense in this league. Whether you want to say Pittsburgh is first or second, you can kind of mix and match those two teams. But we've already talked about how just elite this defense is, and the defensive line when it comes to pressure and rush run weight. Like, so when you add a Myles Garrett across from a Montez Sweat and Javon Dexter Sr. and Andrew Billings, like the possibilities are endless. Like it continues to make you almost salivate a little bit at what the potential, like that's a meaty line if I say so myself. Like Mr. Meaty would definitely be on board with that. But I mean, if you're talking about just the production and just the game wrecking potential from bringing Myles Garrett in, that's insane. And of course, obviously the numbers back it up. This is a 5-time Pro Bowler. He's only 28 years old. And so he's just now entering his prime. 3-time first-team All-Pro, was voted the NFL's Defensive Player of the Year in 2023, Pro Football Writers of America, and also Sporting News. He also has 92.5 sacks in his career, 101 tackles for loss, 181 quarterback hits in 107 career games. And so you're talking about somebody who is just going to wreck opposing offensive lines day in and day out, game in and game out. And even this year, he's 4 sacks, 7 tackles for loss, 9 quarterback hits in 7 games. Very, very good numbers for somebody who has just been consistent, has been the mark of consistency since he's been drafted. He hasn't been overhyped. He is exactly what we thought he would be coming into this league. And if you put him on this Bears defense, you're essentially saying that we're going all in. And we talked about this on the Windy City Breeze podcast many times on the Daily Live show about if we go this route. And Ryan Poles says, you know what, I'm putting all my chips into the middle of the table and I'm saying I'm investing in Myles Garrett for the next 4 or 5 years. What does that say about the window of opportunity for this Bears team to be a Super Bowl contender? Well, you're clearly ramping up that period right now, especially on the defensive side. You're saying that we have one phase of the game that we feel will take us all the way to the Super Bowl at the very least. We know defenses win championships. We've seen that even with Kansas City, as much as they've been hyped about how great their offense was in the beginning when they had Tyreek Hill, McCole Hardman, a younger Travis Kelce, a younger Kareem Hunt, like they won the championships off the backs of their offense. But the last couple of times that they've won championships, it's been because of their defense. It's been because of Chris Jones. It's been because of Nick Bolton and McDuffie and all of these guys that have contributed to them being a more well-rounded team. And so when you look at that, and we always talk about this being a copycat league, defense obviously travels, and it also helps you to go far in a season. And so when you stack together an elite roster on one side of the ball, like the Bears are potentially trying to do, this could be a very unstoppable team. And then on top of that, this always brings me back to the point where we got Khalil Mack, because I mean, if you're thinking about how this trade compares to that, when we got Khalil Mack, we were in the position to be a really good team on the rise, right? I believe that was when we still had Mitch Trubisky. But if you're comparing that team to this team, I would take this offense. Obviously, I would take this quarterback, even though Caleb has only played 6 games so far in his career. But I would take this offense 10 times out of 10 over the offense that we had in 2016. Or I believe 2018. And you're telling me that you're adding a piece like that, like how Khalil Mack did when we thought that, you know what, adding him is going to take us far? Well, I believe adding Myles Garrett is going to take us further. If you're talking about a defense that is already at the top and is only giving up 17 points per game and hasn't given up 21 points per game this whole season, going into last season as well, what does that tell you? That tells you that the potential is there for them to be successful for a pretty long time. And it's also a good idea. It's smart investment as well when it comes to the money, because you're now talking about having a quarterback that could be a game changer on a rookie contract for the next 4 or 5 years. And so that's when you have the time to spend money and spend a lot of money on talent around him. Now, of course, we know that this potentially could also kind of backfire, right? And the reason being is because, again, as we talked about, the protection needing to be there for Caleb Williams. So if you're giving up a 2025 first and a 2026 first, clearly you're not going all in on offensive tackle help in those rounds at the least. Now, of course, we still have the second round pick that's ours. We still got Carolina's that's going to be in the top 3 in the second round as well. And so you could almost say that's kind of like a late first. So there's the potential to still address certain things on this offensive line. But as I've said before, Ryan Post needs to make sure that he hits on that. If he goes this route of going all in for Myles Garrett and this trade, which I actually like, then that means you also have to make sure you're hitting on the other the other weaknesses of this team. And quite frankly, that to me is the last weakness that we have to address. It's the most important, but it's the last weakness for this team, which is the protection for Caleb. And so we'll see how things pan out. I do love this trade offer. I believe they did a good job of kind of creating that. I never thought about adding a Austin Booker, but I mean, that makes sense. If you're talking about giving up a premium pass rusher, a superstar like Myles Garrett, I would think that if a team is rebuilding, they would want somebody like in the ilk of a Austin Booker, who has the potential to be a game wrecker in his future as well, along with those other first-round picks. That might seal the deal for a trade, and we will see. I want to get you guys' thoughts, as always, on how you feel about this trade offer. Do you think that this is something that could be realistic? A lot of people are saying that this might not actually manifest itself as far as Myles Garrett actually being traded, but we never know. We know how aggressive Ryan Poles can be when it comes to trading high picks for players that he feels are either potentially superstars or are superstars. We've seen him pull the trigger. And so it's not a matter of him being confident enough to do that. It's just a matter of if it's going to happen. And so I think this trade offer looks good enough for both teams to come out, satisfied and happy. And we'll see what happens. The Bears are in a really good position. The Bears look to be very successful, especially starting this season. They're trending up. I mean, it is a fun time to be a Bears fan in Chicago. So, again, want to get you guys' thoughts on this trade proposal. I'll be down there with you as always. And as always, show some class on this video. Comment, like, and subscribe. Share this video with others. I'll see you guys on the next Bears Breeze.